Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition. Met the greatest. All right, welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, X7, your host of Zenorama, the podcast of Heroes and Monsters, and also your agent of stop motion animated awesomeness. And this movie, which is fun for the most part. I should have put Grumpy's face up here, but I didn't think of it then. We are going to be talking about 1951's, right? 1951? Lost Continent, which is a bit of a misnomer. And as you'll see, there's no T-Rex, there's no theropod in this at all. But before we get too much further into it, please like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the movie. Did you think it was fun? I mean, aside from all the rock climbing on the way up. We'll get into that a little bit. And if you could, just watch a little longer than usual. I don't know how long this episode is going to last because it is a much shorter review, just because I took out all the rock climbing scenes. But having said all that, get your pitons and all your climbing gear, and let's roll. Okay, so we start out with this nice title card, directed by Sam Newfield. It gives us the actors here, and we start out with the desert, which, a lot of 50s movies, but this is not a Universal movie. This is a independent. It was distributed by Lippert Productions, directed by Sam Newfield. We'll get who it's starring. It runs 83 minutes. It would be much better if it ran about 75 minutes. I mean, yeah, they could have cut out some stuff. We'll get to it. So we start out there in the desert, proving grounds in White Sands, New Mexico. So just down the street here from Fossil Bed. There is a scientist there. They're doing a test, of course, of a rocket. It is an atomic-powered rocket that's going to go faster than anything. Lots of scientific jargon here. Blah, blah, blah. Talk. It's talky, no question. But, even at 85 minutes, it's short. It's just best viewed when awesome. So, and of course, it goes off course. And there's Project A, and he's number 363. There it goes. It's lost. Now we meet our hero, who is Major Joe Nolan, played by, of all people, Cesar Romero. One of the great, Cesar Romero. We know him here, of course, as the Joker, but he was so many things before that, and I never knew that he had ever done anything else. He's also the villain in the Disney's Now You See Him, Now You Don't, and I'm drawing a blank at who that is. We have to review some more, the other two in that. He was in, he was in, man, well, let's just see what else he was in. He was in the Thin Man in 1934, and he never shaved off his mustache because he said it made him his money. That's why he's wearing it in Batman. He just make-upped over it, and I don't blame him. I think it gives him some character. Alibaba Goes to Town, the Cisco Kid and the Lady. Oh, he played the Cisco Kid. Geez, I didn't realize his career was this long. Let's see, the Sword of Granada. He just did everything they asked him to. Around the World in 80 Days. He was Abdullah's henchman. He played himself in some movies. Batman as the Joker. Oh, yes, and he was in Latitude Zero, which we will get to because I love that movie. And is there anything else? 1998 was his final posthumous role. Anyway, be Cesar Romero. Now, the young lady with him is Hilary Brooke. You may remember her from the Abbott and Costello show, which also starred Joe Besser. So she is, he's hitting on her. He's putting on some music. They dance. And then Corporal there just interrupts him. I don't know what his name was. Maybe that's Mary Alper as Air Police Sergeant. Probably. And they're like, oh, you got, I mean, there is this movie, had they, I don't want to say camped it up because that wouldn't have worked, but if they'd have like leaned into the comedy aspect here, I think that it would also be a little bit, it would be better because there's some knowing winks and nods all about what they were, he needed him to be a, half an hour later. But she is one of two women in this movie. Otherwise, it's all men. And there is the Major's little black book. And there, of course, that is our the obligatory doomed sergeant, played by Sid Melton as Sergeant William Tatlow. Oh, and Hillary Book plays Marla Stevens. We don't see her for the rest of the movie. And that's Chick Chandler as Lieutenant Danny Wilson, who also thinks of himself as quite the ladies' man. He's the co-pilot, and there it is. And now, I don't bag on Plan Line because I love it, but this is a bit different cockpit than the one you see in that movie. Man. And there is that's not Whit Bissell, right? Yes, that's Whit Bissell as Stanley Biggs, and that is Hugh Beaumont, Ward Cleaver himself, as Robert Phillips, and then he's making cracks. They're giving him coffee. With them on there is Michael Rostov, played by John Hoyt. Michael Rostov is Russian in 1951 USA. Blah, blah, blah. We're over it. Uh-oh, everything's going crazy. The watches have stopped. The plane has stopped. Down it goes. Hang on, everybody. Crash. Everyone all right? Yeah. They get out. Everyone's safe and sound. And good old the sergeant's got his parachute on him still. They're looking around. They run into Aquanetta, the second and last woman in the show. She's in it for like 7 minutes, maybe. She doesn't even get a name. She's native girl, and she's with her little brother. They didn't bug out when everyone else did when the mountain god got angry because something landed on it, and nobody goes up there because it's death. Dun dun dun. So they're like, "Well, we're going. You want it?" And she takes him there, and there it is. It's up on a high plateau. Huh. Now they're on an island. This is not a continent. This is not New Zealand. It's not Australia. It's not. It's not even Greenland, which isn't considered a continent, but probably should be. But it's not even Iceland. It's down somewhere in South America, I would guess, looking at basing it on her costume. But off they go, and they go, and they go, and they go, and they go. And there's some poisonous gas. You can see there's a skeleton. This copy, of course, came from the Internet Archive. It looks pretty good. I first saw this movie late at night with a certain genius, and I'm sure we talked a lot while we were watching it. And I didn't remember. I don't remember. I've only seen it. This is probably about my third or fourth time, and over the course of some 40 years, so once every 10 years. Runs 83 minutes. Was released August 17th, 1951. So early on, but everyone's there talking, and old Nolan, the major, has some questions in his mind about Rostov because he's Russian, of course. They're all smoking away. Uh-oh. Stanley Briggs is showing pictures of his kids. That's all. That's doom in any movie when he starts talking about his family. Good-looking kid. And then, Rostov sees something which he says a monster he has never seen before. And it looks like a lizard to me. But so they got to climb up more. They're climbing. They're looking. And unfortunately, Stanley Briggs falls to his death. We never see him again. Now the major is thinking that Rostov dropped him on purpose because Rostov said he was trying to help him, and he let him go. Now, why this doesn't make any sense? I mean, he's just being a jerk because the guy's Russian. I mean, they're up there together. They all need each other. Why would you? You couldn't get down by yourself probably because they have to jump over chasms. And then when they crest, they get to the top of the plateau, everything turns green. It's all tinted green, which I think is really cool. And they're in a lush jungle. There's 5 of them left now. And I already said that our sergeant was doomed, but turns out Ward knows paleontology because I can't think of him as Robert Phillips. He's just Ward because he went back and this is long before he met June and had Wally and the Beaver. So they're having their smoke break. There's a lot of smoking in this movie, and they probably just threw their butts on the ground because, well, he's like, well, let's talk about it. So they're having food, and then they see this. Uh-oh, that is a giant footprint. And Ward says it's a brontosaurus, and the sergeant is dumb because he doesn't know what a brontosaurus is. Now you got to remember, the brontosaurus hadn't even been around, hadn't been discovered. It'd been less than 100 years, and probably even less than that. And of course, that was when there still was a brontosaurus, or before the controversy of the brontosaurus, camarasaurus, apatosaurus, etc. There they are. Oh, they see it. There it is. And now this is stop motion, which is really nice. They're credited to Augie Loban, but looks like the Nassau brothers probably did it. And Jay Bowler and sculptor Henry Lyon, who worked for Nasser at the time. Now you'll remember them from The Beast from Hollow Mountain. But of course, it sees him, and just of course, like all dinosaurs at the time, if it sees people, it just charges them. And Ward jumps up a tree.
A superhero from outer space has arrived. With powers beyond human imagination. The Mebius Infinity Beam. The Mebius Blade. The Mebius Punch. He is Ultraman Mebius and is here to protect our planet from gigantic monsters. And to defeat the deadliest of invaders. Prepare to witness the ultimate showdown. Ultraman Mebius premieres 14th May at 6 p.m. on Sonic.
He looks scared, but he's not talking in caveman speak now, is he? But it pushes it over just like in Caveman, or Caveman does it just like in here. Not that, well, I'm sure they'd seen it because it had stop motion, and if you like stop motion dinosaurs, you'd seek out any movie with it. They shoot at it. It bleeds, but apparently doesn't penetrate any further than skin deep, and it just pushes it down. They rescue old Ward, cart him off. Here's where Nolan talks about his suspicions of Rostov to old Danny Wilson. They finally go to have it out. And it turns out that Rostov is a Russian Jew, Jewish descent there. And he's been in concentration camps twice, once from Herr Schicklgruber and then once from Stalin, because, fascists suck and they need punched in the face. Thank you, Captain America. Yeah, he was a victim of he lost his unborn child and wife there. So there they're looking, and they find the ceratopsian, which is supposedly a triceratops, but the front horn is way too long, and the frill, it looks like the agathalmus that was later on, not a real animal. It's a good looking beast, though. The animation's nice enough. And of course he charges him, and then they meet another one, they have a fight. See? Now it looks like this one gets killed. More talking, and there we go. And then he says this, which is just amazing from this movie. No country can survive when it loses the respect of its own people or of the world. He's talking about Russia, of course. But, current day situation and all. So they've all bonded and they're pals again. There's a pterodactyl is what it is, I think. Maybe a Rhamphorhynchus. It's got a long neck. It's not any true pterosaur at all, but they shoot it. And then, of course, they find the rocket, and it's guarded by one of the ceratopsians and the sauropod. So apparently there's only like 3 animals left. And on a place this small, they wouldn't have much of a genetic pool to keep reproducing from. So it was doomed. It was as doomed can be, I must say. So they got to go get it. So they lure the there's the second ceratopsian again. So there must be more, but you know how this is going to end, right? It is, if you've seen The Lost World, and we will get to it, I promise. I just want to do it justice. That might be a two-parter because the Blu-ray is great. So Ward and Rostov go to collect the whatever it needs, retrieve the data from the rocket. There it is, and he grabs something else, and off they go. Tatlow's not paying attention. Look what's behind him. Once again, they shoot it, and it bleeds, but it kills him. And they don't show us the gore. Gore! No, it wasn't a rhino. It was a triceratops. It's like, take care of my ship. Oh, wait, you already killed my ship. I should die anyway. Because he's one of those sergeants that, mechanics that loves the ship more than anything else. There, they bury him down, and now they decide to go down, and you can tell they're getting down, 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 and out. And then suddenly, the volcano erupts. They're sitting on a field of uranium, which they would come back for had it not exploded. Then Aquanetta and her brother are gone. They grab an outrigger canoe, and it blows up. And that's where they are. They're in the ocean. Now, they don't know if anyone knows where they are. They've got this data, so the government's probably going to want to look for them. But that's where it ends. It's like, that's it. Period. End of story. Weird, right? I mean, I'm like, why didn't they could have, if they'd have taken 7 minutes out of the climbing and added 2 minutes and say, oh, look, there's a plane. They've been looking for us. But no, that's just it. I mean, it's a near classic, I'd say, because it is a good movie, but there's too much climbing. And this ending just is unsatisfying. But that's all right. Tomorrow, we are going to have a bit of I think it's a book review of a certain hero from the stars, which is why you got to see Ultraman Mebius there. But I'm still never sure on Wednesdays, but I think that's what it's going to be because I can take pictures of that easy. It's gigantic. You've seen the preview, right? But my fellow agents, I hope you've enjoyed this A Land of Lost Continent, because there's no the in there. I like it. I'm glad to have reviewed it. And now, because I really like the end sequence here, this is X7 signing off and phasing out. And remember, the sun never sets on those who ride into it.
If I can only get unstuck, I'll be swinging at one of my most fearsome foes next week. Be sure to tune in next week and watch me swing into my strangest trip ever in Revolt in the Fifth Dimension.